What's up everyone, welcome to CPDict. In this video we are going to look at the first three problems from the recent Codeforces Div to round 676. So let's start, shall we? Problem A is called XOR-wise. In this we have been given two integers A and B, and we need to come up with an integer x which will minimize this equation, which is a XOR x plus b XOR x. So let's see what we can do to solve this problem. See, let's talk about a particular bit of a and b. Let's say we are talking about the ith bit, and there can be four cases. Either those two bits can be both can be 0, be 0 1, or be 1 0, or both would be 1. Now let's also talk about the ith bit of our number x. For this case, when the ith bit of a and b are zeros, we can simply put the ith bit of x as 0 as well. In that case, for that particular bit, a XOR x as well as b XOR y would both be 0. And for this case, if we put 1 or if we put 0, in both the cases the sum of a XOR x plus b XOR y would be equal to 1 left shifted by I, which is equal to 2 to the power I. So it does not matter what this particular bit of x is if we see both are different. So this case is similar to the case 2. Now let's talk about this last case. In this case, when both the numbers the ith bit is set, in that case we can set the ith bit of x as 1 as well. In that case, we will see that a XOR x as well as b XOR x would both be 0 as well for that particular bit I'm talking about. So yes, that's all for this problem. We would be doing this for all the bits from the 0th bit till the 31st bit, as the range of a and b are within 10 raised to the power 9, which is an integer. Let's see the code now. We have taken the input for the bit starting from the 31st bit to the 0th bit. I'm checking if the case is either 2 or 3, because only in these cases there would be some term adding to our final answer, that is the equation which we have been given. The equation is a XOR x plus b XOR y. Only in these two cases it would be generating a term of magnitude 1 left shifted by I. In all other cases the answer would be 0. So yes, I'm checking whether if one of them is set and other one is not set. In this case, ith bit of a is set, and in this case ith bit of b is not set, and this is vice versa. If I'm seeing that these conditions are satisfied, like if one of these two conditions are satisfied, then I simply add that particular magnitude to my answer, and at the end I'm printing the answer. That's all for this problem. Let's see the next problem, which is called putting bricks in the wall. So you can read out the problem statement. I would be explaining it in my own words. What the problem says is, we have been given a grid of size n by n, and at the top left corner some person needs to start his walk, and he wants to reach at the bottom right corner, which is termed at f. All other cells are filled either with ones or zeros, except those two cells, which is s and f. And that particular person, let's see the name of that person, it is Roger Waters. Let's call it Roger. So Roger can only walk in this grid if he sees that the adjacent cells are containing the same digit. Like first of all, he can only traverse in 4 directions only, and when the adjacent cell is also containing the same number. and yes, he needs to stay inside this grid, and we can perform at most two operations. We can perform 0, 1 or 2 operations, and we can simply invert a number present in any cell. By inverting, if the cell is containing 1, we can invert it so that after our inversion it would be containing a 0, and if it was containing 0, then after inversion it would be containing 1. So we need to perform at most these 2 operations so that Roger would not be able to reach to the final goal cell, and he would be starting from this first cell which has the coordinates 1, 1, and the last cell has the coordinates n, n. So let's see, we need to stop him by reaching to the last state, and it says that it is sure that there is a solution which exists, and yes, there is a solution. Now let's talk about the first state, the top left corner where Roger would be starting. So from this particular cell he can only move in 2 directions, either he can go right or he can go down. Similarly, let's talk about the bottom right cell, which is the last which Roger wants to reach. If he wants to reach to that cell, he can only reach to that F if he is currently at this cell or he is currently at this cell. So we rather than considering or focusing on other cells in our grid, we just need to focus on these 4 cells. We can manipulate the bits on these 4 cells such that we are able to block one of these 2 cells. So if we are able to block one of these 2 cells, then it would be clear that Roger would not be able to reach to F if he is starting from S. So now let's see, and yes, there is a thing, if initially Roger chooses a number or digit, you can say, he can only choose 0 or 1. So if he has chosen 0, then Roger can only move to the cells which is containing a 0, and they must be adjacent as well. And if Roger had chosen 1, then Roger need to move in the cells which is containing 1, and they should be adjacent as well. So what we want to do to one of these points, let's say this is the entry point and this is the exit point, so we need to block one of those. What we can do is we can convert these numbers, these cells into 0 and these cells into 1, or vice versa. Let's say we are converting these cells into 0 and we're cutting these cells into 1. So if Roger chooses the number 0 initially, then yes, he can move to this adjacent cell, and yes, he might be able to move in other parts of the grid as well, but he would not be able to reach to the final cell, as the cells which are adjacent to the final cell are containing 1. So in this way we have blocked the final state. And in the other case, suppose we make these 2 cells as 1, then we need to make these 2 cells as 0. So in this case, if Roger chooses 0, then he will not be able to move to even one adjacent cell. And if he chooses 1, yes, he might travel around the grid in many cells, but he will not be able to reach the final state, as the 2 adjacent cells which are adjacent to the final state are containing 0. That's the main logic. So I'm calling these 4 cells as, I'm calling this one as right and this one as down, and the cells which are adjacent to the final state, I'm calling this one as up and this one as left. So I have these 4 cells. I find first of all I find out the values or digits which are present in those cells. Then I see if the sum of these 2 are 2, it means they both are containing 1. Then what I need to do is I will be converting other 2 cells into 0. So if these 2 are 1s, then I need to convert these 2 into 0s. And in other case, when these 2 are both 0s, then I need to convert these 2 into 1s. Now there is one more case which is remaining. Suppose one of them is 1 and one of them is 0 when I'm talking about right and down, and in the other case as well, when one of them is 0 and one other one is 1. So in this case what I need to do is I just need to choose whether or which entry point or which point I want to make a 0 and which entry point I want to convert it into 1. So let's say I'm converting this starting right or down into 0 and converting this into 1. Then I'll check one by one. I'll check right as I want to convert these 2 points into zeros. I'll check if right is 0 or 1. I see it is 0, so I do not need to change this particular cell. Then I check down. I see the value of down is 1, so I invert this. So I invert this. Now it becomes 0. And then I check these two values. As I've changed the above entry point into zeros, so I need to convert this exit point into 1s. So I check these 2 points one by one. I see that this is 0, so I need to convert it into 1, and left is 1 in the beginning itself, so I do not need to change anything. Yes, I've found out those 4 cells. They are stored in right, down, left and up. Then this is the vector of pairs which I would be painting at the end if I am performing any operations. I see if the sum of right plus down is 0, it means both of them are containing 0 value. So I need to convert the other endpoint into 1. So here I am converting other into 1s. And I see if the right plus down is equal to 2, it means both of them are 1. So I would be converting the other point into zeros. So I see if any of them is 1, I convert it into 0. Otherwise, I see that right plus down is equal to 1. So then I'm checking for the other point. This is left and up. This is the exit point I'm talking about. Left and up, now I'm considering the exit point, which is at the bottom right corner of our grid. If it is 0, it means I need to convert my entry point into 1s. And if left plus up is equal to 2, it means my exit point is containing 1s in both the cells. Then in my entry point, the cells which are adjacent to my entry point, I need to convert it into zeros. Otherwise, what I'm doing is I'm converting my top left corner into zeros in these 2 rows, and I'm converting my bottom right corners into 1s. It would be taking at most 2 operations. Then I simply print the cell size. Here cell is containing the coordinates of my points which I am inverting, and so number of operations is equal to the number of elements present in my cell vector, and I'm printing out the elements of this vector. That's all for this problem. Let's look at the next problem. So the problem C is called palindromifier. You can read out the problem statement. I would be explaining it in my own words again. We have been given a string and we can perform 2 types of operations, and we need to perform at most 30 operations, and after performing the operations the length of our string should not exceed 10 to the power 6, and we need to convert it into a palindrome. And the 2 operations which we can make is, suppose this is my string, this is the first character and this is the last character. This is the first character, this is the second index, and suppose this goes till I. This is n-1 and this is n. In my first operation, I can pick any substring starting from index 2 and I can go till index n-1. So it's up to me whether I can choose substring till this point or I want to choose the substring till this point. So at most I can go till this index, and after picking this substring, I need to append it at the beginning, and I would be appending the reverse of this substring. This is the first operation, and the second operation is similar to the first one. It is just the other way around. Suppose these are the indexes, this is n-1 and this is n. In the second operation, I can choose a substring which ends at index n-1 and it can go till at most index 2. That is the minimum value of starting index of the substring can be 2. If I'm talking about one index based indexing. So here I can pick a substring of this length, or I can go till this length. Now after picking this substring, I need to append it at the end, and I need to append the reverse of this substring. So here I was appending at the beginning the reverse of this substring, and here in the other operation I am appending at the end. And these two operations I can perform. I can perform them at most 30 times. After performing these operations, my string should convert into a palindrome. Now let's see what we can do to solve this problem. Actually, this problem can be solved in 4 operations. It can also be solved in 3 operations, but I did it using 4 operations. Let's pick an example. Let's say I'm talking about A, B, C, D. I need to convert it into a palindrome. So in the first operation, what I would be doing is I will pick this B and I will append the reverse of it at the beginning. This is my first operation. So after doing this, now my B would be here. In my second operation, I would be picking this C and appending it the reverse of it at the end. This is the second operation. So after performing these 2 operations, my string has become something like this. Let's write it down: A, B, C, D and C. Now in my third operation, what I would be doing, I'll pick the initial substring which is in between the 2 endpoints, and I'll reverse it and append it at the last. This is my third step. So after reversing and appending it, it will look something like this. Now if you see, this and this are palindromes to each other. I just need, and this can be my middle character. I just need to put a B such that it would be matching the character here. Then this whole string will become a palindrome. So what I can do is, now my substring is this. I can simply pick this character and append its reverse at the end. This is the fourth operation. So if you see, now my string has been converted into a palindrome. So this, as you can see, this B has been matched to this B, and these 4 characters are matching with these 4 characters, those 4 characters, and this is the middle character. So if I write it down, let's see the code now. It has a very small code. So I would be performing 4 operations. Now first operation, I pick the second character and append it at the beginning, and in my second operation I pick the second last character and I append it at the last, which I had explained. This is the first, this is the second. Now after that, I would be picking the string which was given to us initially. Now it is present in between except the endpoints. I'll append the reverse of it at the end. I can find out the length of that initial substring, which is n minus nn. Yes, because I incremented n twice, and initial length of my string is nn. Then after doing that, I simply append the second last character to my substring. That's all for this problem. At the end, we would be getting a palindromic substring. We can take another example. Let's pick an example which is given in the problem statement. Let's say we are picking this ABAC. So in my first step, I will pick this B and append it at the beginning. In my second step, I will pick this A and append it at the last. So these 2 steps has been performed. Now this was the initial substring which was given to us. Now I will append the reverse of it at the last. Then my string would convert into BC, and now I need to append its reverse CABA, and at the last I just need to perform add the reverse of second last character the end. So yes, if you see, this is a palindromic substring. So yes guys, that's all for this video. Till then, take care, sayonara and happy coding.